Where's the money?
Just months ago, President Biden taunted House Republicans when asked about this investigation. Watch this.
Bribery allegation. Congresswoman Nancy Mace says there's damning evidence in the FBI file that you sold out the country. Do you have a response to the congressional Republicans?
Where's the money? I'm joking.
Mr. President,
It's a bunch of malarkey.
Yeah, where's the money? It's hard to find when you've got 20 shell companies, I guess. Joining me right now is Ohio Congressman Jim Jordan, the chairman of the House Judiciary Committee. Congressman, thanks so much for being here. What can you tell us?
Good to be with you. Well, where's the money? It looks like it's in Joe Biden's accounts. That's where it's at. I mean, $200,000 that he got after the AmeriCorps pays Jim Biden, and then Jim Biden says loan repayment pays him back. And now this $40,000, which just happened to be, of course, 10% of the $400,000 that Hunter Biden got paid from this Chinese company. So when you look at all this, as Mr. Comer outlined, the brand that they were selling, this is not me talking, this is not Republicans talking, this is Devon Archer, Hunter Biden's partner, said the brand was Joe Biden. The 20 different companies, the multiple family members getting paid, how this money is routed through all these various entities, it sure starts to look funny. And then when you couple all that, Maria, with what the Justice Department did, or frankly failed to do when they investigated Hunter Biden and the Ukraine issue and all this, that's the real story here, I think, and that's why we are in an impeachment inquiry phase, and we continue to do our work. Chairman Smith is looking at the whistleblowers, the good information they brought forward, which, by the way, their testimony has stood up to cross-examination, has not wavered, has not changed. So Chairman Smith does that. Chairman Comer and the Oversight Committee are looking at the banking records, the suspicious activity reports, and then, of course, our committee excuse me, is looking at how the DOJ handled the investigation.
Yeah, and I want to ask you about that. In terms of all of those shell companies that the Biden family set up while Joe Biden was vice president, are those some of those companies in that diagram? Those are the LLCs that he set up so that money could go from China to a Hunter Biden entity to another Hunter Biden entity? Those are the LLCs, right?
Yeah, those are some of the multiple, Owasco is one of them, the Red Line, all these different companies they set up that they move money around, through and around. That's all part of this scheme that they had, it looks like, part of their influence peddling and everything else.
So Chairman, let me get your take on how this was done, because if James Comer and yourself and Jason Smith have been able to get these bank records, and you have a clear line in terms of money coming from a foreign adversary, China, going to Hunter Biden accounts, ultimately making it to Joe Biden's account, how come the DOJ didn't have that? I mean, you've got these bank records. Should we assume that the DOJ knew all of this and just blew it off?
Well, they certainly kept some information from important people. We learned 2 weeks ago that Scott Brady, the U.S. attorney who the Attorney General, Bill Barr, put in charge back on January 3rd, 2020, of being the clearinghouse for all information related to Hunter Biden and related to Ukraine, we now know after our deposition with Scott Brady that the FBI never shared with him the fact that they had the laptop. I mean, that's unbelievable. I mean, I asked him that question in the deposition. Yeah, they waited 10 months. They never shared with him until 6 months about the confidential human source, the person who said that Zolochevsky from Burisma paid $5 million to Hunter Biden and $5 million to Joe Biden. That was recorded in that 1023 form. They never shared that with him until 6 months into his work. So they kept things from. They slow walked everything. So on one hand, you have the Justice Department, which we learned last week was spying on Capitol Hill staffers, Republican staffers. The Justice Department that said parents were terrorists, the Justice Department that said pro-life Catholics were extremists, and then on the other hand, you have that same Justice Department who's slow-walking the Hunter Biden investigation and keeping valuable information from Scott Brady, the U.S. attorney put in charge by the Attorney General of the United States.
Right,
so that's the stuff we're looking at.
This is all so stunning, Congressman. I mean, Hunter Biden's lawyer actually served Attorney General Merrick Garland with a subpoena as part of his lawsuit against the IRS. He claims he's going to sue the IRS for getting all this information. It happens after a top DOJ tax official reportedly told your committee that Hunter Biden prosecutor David Weiss was not allowed to bring charges against the first son without speaking to the tax division first. You've also sent a letter to the Director of National Intelligence, Avril Haines, demanding to know why the intelligence community obstructed Senators Chuck Grassley and Ron Johnson's investigation, claiming that they were advancing Russian disinformation. So this is all connected. Last week, Grassley revealed that the FBI has received information from more than 40 confidential sources on criminal matters related to the Bidens, and yet they blew all of the information off. They said it was disinformation. Tell us more about your investigation, where you think things are headed now.
We're looking into all that, plus Jason Foster, who worked for Senator Grassley, was spied on by the Justice Department. They got his phone records. He learned this because Google, one of the carriers, had the Justice Department subpoena them for the phone records of a key staffer for Senator Grassley. So while he's trying to investigate this, while they're giving him this briefing that he said was ridiculous, while all this is going on, they're also spying on his staffer who was looking into how the Justice Department ran the whole Crossfire Hurricane investigation. So we want to get answers to all that. We want to know who else did they spy on? What other staffers? Was it other members that they were looking at their phone records or their email records? Was it personal? Was it just their government phone or their government computer? We want to know that information, so that's why we've sent the letters to the various folks, including the carriers, including Google, Verizon, and the other carriers who would have been subpoenaed by the government back at that time.
Oh, how do your colleagues on the left deal with this? I mean, can they all just, make believe this is not going on? I mean, we see drip, drip, drip of evidence of corruption in Joe Biden and Joe Biden's family. The House continues to release all of this. What do you hear from Democrats? Are they still trying to deny it, say that Joe Biden has not done any of this?
No, good question, Maria. We'll see if they're going to be helpful, particularly now that the FISA 702 part of the FISA program has to be reauthorized by the end of this year. So we are actually working with some Democrats who, still believe in the First Amendment, still believe in the Constitution, on safeguards we want to put in place dealing with the FISA law. So we'll see. I think there are some Democrats who are going to work with us who understand that the FISA system has certainly been abused. Now, they may not look at all the stuff we just talked about in the same way you and I do, but I do think there's an understanding from many Democrats that we need to reform the FISA law. So we're trying to work with them over the next couple months as we reauthorize that program.
So where does the impeachment inquiry stand then? I mean, between the dereliction of duty at the southern border to outright corruption in our faces, do you think the impeachment inquiry is going to lead to an official impeachment?
We're going to follow the evidence. Look, we got David Weiss, who's coming in for a deposition next Tuesday. We will look forward to that and the questions we have for him. The various times his story has changed over the last several months and how he dealt with the Hunter Biden investigation. Mr. Comer continues to look at the business records. And, of course, Chairman Smith and the Ways and Means Committee continue to get information from Mr. Ziegler, Mr. Shapley, the two whistleblowers, brave whistleblowers who came forward.
Yeah.
They continue to give us more information that has to go through that committee before it can be made public. So those are the three prongs that we're pursuing. We'll get all the evidence, and then we'll make a decision if it warrants actually moving to articles of impeachment.
Where's the money?